Hey guys, welcome to our first lesson for home-based learning. Today we are going to go through the rest of chapter 13. Remember that this is a video, so I will go through the slides quite quickly. You just need to pause it and highlight and annotate the relevant parts. And for those of you who have not copied the story outline, please do so in your literature notebook. Okay? So we've seen this quiz. This is the one where I asked you where did the other Jews come from other than Poland. For those of you who have not gotten the answer or who went to the toilet or something when we went through this quiz, please find the answer and write it in your literature notebook. A hint for you, the answer is not Denmark. It is a much longer name than Denmark. Here's the story outline. Those of you who have not copied it in your notebook, please do so. So this chapter 13, is the one where Lieutenant Kotler comes over for dinner. Father and mother were asking him about his father, who was a literature professor that moved to Switzerland. Lieutenant Kotler was feeling really uncomfortable with the questions because at this point in time, Hitler and the Nazis were in power, and if you moved overseas, it meant that you didn't agree with Hitler's policies, and that's why you would be labeled a traitor. Lieutenant Kotler didn't want to be associated with a traitor, that's why he was super uncomfortable with these questions. And Pavel just has the sheer bad luck to spill wine on Lieutenant Kotler at this time and made him so angry that he beat Pavel to death. Let's go to the first slide. So remember, the text in color, which is red here, is the part you highlight, and the text in black is the one you annotate in your textbook. Okay, it's the one where you copy down in the sidebar in your textbook. Okay, so on page 141, we see Bruno. He was talking to Maria, he was asking her about Pavel, and Maria told him that if she told him about Pavel, he is not supposed to tell anyone. And Bruno says, the author says that Bruno, who loved to hear secrets and almost never spread them around, shows us that he's actually a very trustworthy boy. Okay, he managed to keep the secret of Shmuel all the way till his death, I guess. On page 144, Shmuel and Bruno were arguing about soldiers. Bruno said that soldiers aren't that bad, but Shmuel, who has been beaten by soldiers the entire day, obviously thinks that every soldier is terrible, and especially Bruno's father, who is the one who ordered all this killing. Bruno, we know he is innocent, he doesn't know what father's job is, so he didn't want to admit that father was a bad person. Okay, I wrote here that he has an undying respect. Okay, even if father were to come into his room and slapped him, he would think that father is a good person. So that's the kind of loyalty Bruno has. We see this in an earlier chapter as well, where Bruno thinks that father is the most handsome person around. Okay, page 146. Shmuel was looking very cold because he was thinking of Lieutenant Kotler. As we know, Lieutenant Kotler gives off a very cold air because of the amount of people he has beat up and killed. And Bruno is so oblivious. Okay, oblivious, for those who don't know the meaning of the word, means that he is not aware of the things around him. He's so oblivious to Shmuel's feelings, not on purpose. He is not a bad person. He is not aware that Shmuel is feeling cold because he doesn't understand that the soldiers have been beating the Jews up. And take note that, remember that this is the start of the chapter. He has not seen Lieutenant Kotler beat anyone up. It's only at the end of this chapter where he saw Lieutenant Kotler murder Pavel with his bare hands. Okay, so we move on to page 153, where Bruno witnesses Pavel being beaten to death, and this is the first time Bruno has seen Lieutenant Kotler, or rather any Nazi soldier, beating a Jew to death, and in his mind, this thing is very important. Okay, it stands out very clearly in his mind. So later on, remember, when he and Shmuel were caught eating chicken, he did not dare to speak up for Shmuel, because at that point in time he remembers how Lieutenant Kotler had beat up Pavel, and he didn't want the same thing to happen to him. That's why I say that this scene is a foreshadow for Bruno's betrayal of Shmuel later on. Okay, let's look at a little bit of author techniques. Page 141, when Maria said to Bruno, we would all get in terrible trouble if he tells people about what she knows about Pavel. Okay, again, I've went through this many times in class. You know that the author, using the perspective of Bruno to tell the story, makes the story a very happy, childish, almost like a fairy tale kind of happy story. But it's these moments where people suggest that everyone would die that carries out a very deep sense of danger. The author likes to use these minor characters to suggest that there's a lot of danger in the environment around Bruno that he's not aware of. Okay, let's look at Mother. So this is just a side note. Mother telling Bruno to not say the word hate. So here we have an example of Mother being a good parent again, telling Bruno not to use words such as hate. Here, I think that there's something more to this, because when the Nazis treated the Jews badly, we call this, in modern terms, we call this a hate crime. Okay, the Nazis have this, the Hitler in particular has this hate for the Jews. So when Mother says don't use the word hate, it is the author telling us not to hate on other races. Okay, this is a lesson in racism coming out through the character of Mother. Page 144, Shmuel tells Bruno, you don't know what it's like here. Here the author is reminding us that there is a difference in Bruno and Shmuel's world. Physically, we see a fence separating the two of them, but even without the fence, Shmuel and Bruno's lives are very different. Bruno lives in a 3-story house, Shmuel lives in a room with 11 other people, and Shmuel is beaten up every day. Shmuel is a Jew. Shmuel didn't ask for this, he didn't do anything bad. It's just his poor luck that he was born a Jew when Hitler was in power. Page 148, something Gretel did made Mother stare at her and narrow her eyes. Gretel was touching Lieutenant Kotler's arm, and Mother was staring at her with a death stare, like as if Gretel had murdered grandmother or something. Here we see that Mother is actually jealous, which suggests that there's something more between her and Lieutenant Kotler. And I think this is one of the first times the author reveals the secret relationship that Mother has with Lieutenant Kotler. Page 151. Here, Father is suggesting that Lieutenant Kotler's father has disagreements with Hitler, and the author is using this page to tell us that, you know, even though we study in the history book that Hitler had the support of so many millions of Germans, it can't be that everyone loved him. Okay, it's the same everywhere. You can't expect everyone to like you. So even a loyal soldier like Lieutenant Kotler, his own father might have been a traitor who didn't agree with what Hitler did. They disagreed with Hitler for various reasons. Some of them didn't like the fact that Hitler was killing the Jews. Some of them felt that Hitler took power illegally, and some of them just didn't like his face and stuff. I'm sure it's like your teachers. You know, there are some teachers that that some people in class just never liked, and some teachers that you like for no particular reason. It's the same with the Germans, but this is on a much bigger scale and much more important. Okay, page 153. After Pavel had been beaten by Lieutenant Kotler, the author used some very revealing words. Here, Bruno remembered. Look at the past tense. Okay, he remembered how kind Pavel had been to him. Okay, when a person becomes a memory, it means that person has disappeared from the face of this earth. So here, it's very strongly suggested that Pavel died. Yes, the author didn't say Pavel mati when Lieutenant Kotler hantam him. Okay, but it's suggested. In literature, we try and look between the lines. And finally, for your exit card, I know you all don't have your exit card. Please write the answer to this question in your notebook. I want you to write a short eulogy for Pavel. If you don't know what an eulogy is, it is a short speech given at a funeral for someone who has passed away. So I want you to write 2 or 3 lines telling me how Pavel's life was, what kind of person he was, and how he died, and how the world is a lousier place without him around. Okay, just keep it to 2 or 3 lines. Pretend you are at Pavel's funeral and you are invited to give a 15-second speech, something like that. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson. If you enjoyed this, please remember to smash that like button, and I'll see you all next week. Bye bye.